So you were going to tell me about a game. How does it work?
Sure.
Okay.
So I think there's a new form of entertainment,
Okay.
right? Which is this Betr story. And I think what the Betr story does is it allows for young people to not just play a game and simulate it like a Tocoboco or a Roadblocks or something else that simulates things, but actually turn that simulation into something that would transform and improve the quality of people's lives.
Okay.
Let's take a pizza restaurant. And the difference between a mom and pop pizza restaurant and a franchise is the fact that they have perfected the business and the predictable model that they can understand what to do with money. So it means that you've made money just by getting the license for a Burger King or a KFC. But if you start a restaurant like a pizza restaurant and it's a one-off, then you're having to learn all those things and you're not systematizing, you're not creating the needed math and structure to make it successful. So this is an opportunity to build the AI models that build the perfect pizza restaurant. Now, a pizza restaurant is a lot of complex variables going on. You've got a point of sale system, you've got a food safety system, you've got to replenish food, you've got marketing, you've got management of personnel, you have the actual workflow of what it looks like inside the restaurant. It might be out-of-the-box solutions like running a game night, doing things. So the idea is students will be able to go into restaurants around the world and measure the Betr score, the performance of that restaurant. How much money are they making? What's the turnover? What's the quality of life for the owners? It's one thing to be able to run a successful restaurant, but if it means that you've got high blood pressure and your life expectancy is going to be a lot shortened, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
So it's all about how do you get someone to work as efficiently as possible with as high a quality of life. Now, everybody's quality of life is different. They all have their own Betr score. They all have their own objectives. It's a personal decision. But what we know is that that pizza restaurant has been done many times in the past. And that owner does not have access to how to run the perfect pizza restaurant, at least the perfect pizza restaurant in Lahore, Pakistan.
It's amazing.
So the ability for you to understand your surroundings, the ability to understand what it takes to do it right, is something that is a pattern of activity that has never been captured. It's one thing to be able to gamify and pull together known data, like folding a protein or understanding anything that uses predictive analytics, because you've got that. But if there's no incentive to do that, and there's no economy that incentivizes people to work that way, then you can't expect the world to change. So you need to create the incentives that allow you to take advantage of that. And how do you reverse engineer that? You use games. How do you incentivize people? You give them a measurement so they can compare how they're doing compared to others. Because that's the competition that feeds humanity, that gets people to accelerate, that gets them to go further. And what you do is you put it in a format that's super entertaining, that runs on your phone, that runs an app that, you know, another example is, my daughter does a haul from Ulta. And she's there reviewing all this makeup, and she's doing that, and she's doing the same thing that thousands of other kids are doing. But there's a way for her and all other people who are doing anything to talk about anything to do with reviewing something, to turn it into a science. To be able to say, oh, I came up with a new way to test to see if you're allergic to this new makeup. You know, company tried to do as best as they can to make sure that they're not going to get a bad reputation, but they can't. It's nearly impossible for them to be able to test everything and come up with every idea. So instead, you set up essentially bounties, quests that test things. And you teach young people how they can make money by simply joining Betr testing, establishing new test plans, running tests, being able to build entertaining tests, being able to solve a problem that is one where you can see whether that company did solve that problem. So that is the ability to leverage collective intelligence to solve problems and teach people, young people, our children, our future, the ability to use collective intelligence and what it means to build a reputation where you are incrementally improving that community. And that will be the new currency of the future.
That's, yeah, I mean, so this sounds a bit like what you were mentioning before about the better economy. So could you describe, I'm skipping around a bit because I want to hear about some of the specifics, but could you tell me a little bit about the better economy and then we'll work our way back to the individual?
Sure. So the better economy is a economy that understands that the technology that we have at our fingertips, the ways that our biology and our brains and society work, are not in alignment. And our ways of operating are not compatible with the hardware and the technology that we now have at our fingertips. And so the reason why we have so much fear and apathy and inefficiency and conflict and dictatorships and extremism going on is because we don't know how to align those two things. How are we going to upgrade our economy, our society, to understand how to use this collective intelligence? And one of the things that I have been looking for and haven't found, which is why I'm putting this video together, is that there needs to be a collective effort to build this new economy. And what I'm kicking off today, for the first time, before hopefully this company turns 40 years old, is that we've been able to take this wisdom and start teaching people that the real reality that underpins everything and underpins consciousness and happiness and why we're alive is a music that happens at frequencies that we're not measuring, at a mathematics that we have just started to simulate when we build AI, and that the world has no ability to measure things that they can't theoretically focus in on. And we will realize very quickly and look at this era as an era of famine. What are we starving for? We're starving for the ability to look at this world with the right hemisphere. And I say the right hemisphere because I just use it to say that there is a emotional quantum functionality to the mathematics of what we call God, what we call consciousness, that we have just discovered. And that's what we are seeing with AI. And don't be afraid of AI. Don't be thinking that it's going to take your job or anything like that. It's just a new tool. When people react and they get all afraid, and I listen to all these podcasters, these doom and gloom people say, oh, it's going to take your job and so forth, it almost feels like I am looking at these natives on a beach who see an airplane or see a boat on the horizon, and the boat has people coming off on them, and they're like killing them because they're devils, and they are, they don't know what they don't know. So human beings, like all animals, operate first on fear and then exploration, because we're programmed to make sure we don't die. And the best way to do it is to kill the other thing that we see as strange. But what we don't do for a moment is realize we are all made up of electrons. And those electrons do not obey the same rules of physics that atoms do. And all of our math, all of our computers, all of our technology, nearly 100% of everything is based upon atomic math of the way to predict things logically.
So I love hearing about this, but you know, you're building this company and it's time for you to have a scrum call and keep developing it. Do you want to switch over to that, or?
Sure,
Okay.
let's do
In
that.
this
But let's
transparent
before we do that, let me just say that I really appreciate the questions. I appreciate you taking the time to make sure that I put this out on the internet and that I make this public for the first time, and that I think this is a incredibly exciting time to see something get so much attention, so much interest, and be able to become successful. So couldn't be a prouder papa.
Well, I mean, I am definitely behind your mission. I believe so much in what you're doing for the world and what Betr is doing, and I just want to help and bring on a lot more people to help drive this mission forward. So I'm excited about everything you're building and hoping to borrow a bit more of your time in a few minutes.
Surely.
Thank you.
My pleasure.